Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Raising the Bar, and I'm actually honoured to have this gentleman here with me today. Darren reached out to me, started telling me his story, and this is no hyperbole, this is one of the most shocking, jaw-dropping, horrific accounts that I've ever heard, but it's something that needs to be told, because part of telling the story is part of the healing. So Darren, thanks for coming all the way today,
John.
driving all the way down here
You're
today,
welcome.
mate.
It's a long day, but you're welcome, mate. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
And, we've got a lot of time to go through the story.
Yeah.
The connection between us, I guess, is John Wedger.
Yeah, definitely. Good guy.
Great guy.
Yeah, respects him. He was, John Wedger was the start of my healing process to an effect, and John he gave me my voice. He let me speak, and when you do it, it does take a lot from your head away. The connection was definitely John Wedger.
And people that obviously been watching the episodes, John is one of my most frequent guests because I just think he's got a heart of gold and he's doing some really important work. And like you said, I mean, just having that conversation with John has allowed you to maybe open up a little bit more and feel like you don't have to hang on to it so much, some of the stuff that you're about to tell us.
Yeah, it was stuff that I didn't know what to do with it myself. I just went down such a bad path with it because I was just too scared to tell anybody of what had happened. It was, and I was worried how people would react to me if they would, look at me any differently, knowing what I'd come through. And so I just didn't know what to do. And the only thing I could do to cope with it was attempt suicide. Because that was the only thing it seemed like the fit, with what happened in my life. And then meeting John kind of told me that, it wasn't mine to hold on to, it was mine to share. And that with me talking, I didn't realise that I could help other people. I had no idea. I thought I was just trying to help me. And obviously, you give a voice to the, I suppose, like unheard, like people that are unheard. The people that are, well, same as me, same as I was, just smashed with anger, rage, and just everything else that goes with it.
Does that also help then, the fact that you know that your story can actually help other people? Is that also quite healing for yourself as well? Kind of, it gives you that, it kind of alchemizes a lot of that pain into some kind of purpose that can help others as well?
Yeah, because you don't feel like you're alone, do you, then, with it? Because, you get people that reach out to you by Facebook or something, and they thank you for giving them their voice and it making it accessible for them to tell their family what they've gone through. And I helped, with my pain, help their pain.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that it would have that effect. I had no idea that, by talking out about events in my life, that other people were still alive, that still felt the same pain, and that they didn't know what to do with it or where to turn it. And then straight away, it was a positive thing for me. And it just makes you feel better in yourself, because you know that you're helping other people as well, and you're keeping families together.
Yeah.
Then they can address their own stuff, can't they? I went 50 years with it on my head. It was such a...
You didn't tell anyone about this for 50 years?
Didn't know what to do, did I? I thought people would look at me. I told a couple of friends, because I had a couple of friends that, I had a couple of friends that were with me going through it. And like one or two other people. But a lot of other people, no, I couldn't, because I just didn't know what to do. I just didn't know. I felt embarrassed.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
And also maybe feared judgment or something from these people.
God,
yeah,
people are judgmental, aren't they? You're going to get somebody who's going to rip you for it.
Yeah.
People that are going to make out that you're this, you're that, and you're not. People that don't understand it and they don't understand you. But when I finished talking with John Wedger, a lot of people, I apologised for my past behaviour as to what I was like with people, and I hope people understood then where I was coming from back then, and I didn't mean to be who I was. It was just because I was in pain, it was horrible,
So I think what we should do, because obviously we've got a lot of time and we want to make sure that we, cover everything here, for your sake as well, mainly. Shall we take it right back to the beginning?
Yeah.
And the start of it all, and, where did you grow up? What was the family dynamics like there?
So, my name's Darren Webster. I'll be 54 this year. I was born December 27th, 1969. I was born premature. My mum, I think my mum was about 12 when she had me. So I was premature. I was born like a pound in weight. So I was, for first like 4.5 months, my best friend was a feeding tube.
A pound in weight?
Yeah, I was premature. That's why I'm not tall now. Like, I'm a bit short.
Well, you've grown a little bit.
A little bit umpa-lumpa. Back in 69,
Yeah.
like, you were just put to an incubator because there wasn't a lot of hope. And, luckily me and the tube got on. And, yeah, and then I come out of the hospital at 4.5 months old, and I went to live with my nan and granddad. And I thought they were my mum and dad. And so I come out of 1970, and I had a beautiful life from 1970 till 1978. I lived with my grandparents in Bristol, and it was absolute. I had a beautiful childhood. I really, really did. I had a beautiful 8 years, and then at 8 years old, the people who I thought were auntie and uncle turned out to be my mum and dad. And I had to go back and live with them then, because my nan never really signed for me, because my mum was young. She was like 12 years old, and she was at school, and I think my dad was still at school as well.
When they had you?
Yeah, my mum was young. She was only 12 years old. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, there's not a lot between me and my mum. People thought as I got older, they thought she was my sister. So it was a little bit embarrassing, you know what I mean? But yeah, everybody thought she was my sister, not my mum. And then I went back to live with them from 1978 until 1982. And, when I went back to live with them, I've come from this house of clean sheets to good cooked meals to a lovely clean house to lovely, which I thought were my parents, with nan and gramp, from a beautiful house. And it was like I went in hell. I went back with two people that were drinking. Dad was very, 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 very rough with mum. Had a bad hand, you know what I mean? He always giving me mum a hiding. He was a heavy drinker. And so was mum. And, yeah, sorry, this is where it gets bad now.
No, just please take your time with it.
So, yeah, that was in 1978. I went into hell. I was born in a place living in a place called Safemead in Bristol. Big council estate. And, I went to live with my real parents then.
And that's the first time you realised they were your parents at that age?
I thought it was auntie and uncle.
Right.
I never liked the bloke. Couldn't stand him. Because he'd come to Nan's house and he'd look at you weirdly. And he'd kind of look down at you. And I didn't like the bloke. He was just a horrible bloke. Horrible man. I never knew, I just knew him as auntie and uncle. Like Auntie Ellen, Uncle David. I didn't like the bloke. I still don't like the bloke to this day. He's alive, worse luck. But I don't like him. And I didn't like him. And I had every reason not to like him, because as quick as I came from heaven, I went straight into hell. Now, hell was a 3-bed council house, and it was a shit pit. You know what I mean? It wasn't the best of house. You know what I mean? And I went with people who were just vulgar. Within about a week of being back home, I didn't know what was going on. I got pulled out of bed one night. I was 8 years old, and I got took downstairs, and I got asked to take my trousers, jammy bottoms off with my underpants, and bent over to make sure my backside was clean. Sorry, to make sure it was clean. And then with next door, I heard a knock on the wall, and they said, "You got to go in next door." And I went in next door, and there was about 4 or 5 people in there. And the mother, the dad, he called me in, and I went in the house. He called me in. They put me on the carpet. I had to get undressed, and the mum put her head on my lap, and she kept rubbing my hair. And then all of a sudden, I just felt like a big jolt, and the dad was forcing himself into my back passage. So, and I didn't know what was going on. I kind of we kind of screamed, and she kept telling me shh. And telling me it was all going to be all right, and got raped by about 3 people on the first time. And I didn't know what was going on. You know, I've never had it before my entire life. I've got these people taking it in turns. It was just, you know, it was just a horrible feeling. I've never witnessed this in my life. Then you had different people, just like three people, but just entering your backside and finishing, and it was horrible. It felt like, you know, I've never said this before, but I didn't know what was going on. Obviously, as I got older, I realised they were ejaculating in my backside, because it always felt like horrible and wet, and I felt, you know, it was just really, really painful. But then I got sent home, like, to give me some money, to give me like £12, and I got sent home, like, round the corner. I had to go next door, in a lot of pain. My back passage was bleeding, and I gave my parents the money, and they'd gone off and got their 2 corned beef pasties, bottle of cider, 4 cans of lager, packet of silk cuts, because you don't forget that. And I got sent to bed. My parents.
What? That all happened for like £12?
Sometimes it'd be £8.
Oh my
sometimes
God.
it'd be £10.
So they're pimping out to all the next door neighbours.
Yeah, and everybody else that they would pay.
How? Oh, I mean, where do we start with all that? I mean,
So I'll take you back to the beginning. So this is coming, like, you know, I went in next doors. I went in about twice a week. Sometimes once, sometimes twice, and sometimes Mum and Dad would bring people home from a community centre, like men and stuff, and I'd get called downstairs. There'd be men around, and I'll have to do things to them, you know what I mean? It's going to sound rude, like, you know, but I was taught to, like, masturbate men and stuff, you know what I mean? I ain't got a problem with what people think. It's the truth, and they don't like it. It's tough, switch off. I got taught what to do to men, and, you know, men would always do stuff to me, like, you know, I had no say in the matter. And, it was just, you know, sorry. It was just horrible times, John.
you can swear, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, no. It's just a horrible thing. It's a horrible place to be. You know, it didn't get any better. And I was pimped out I'd say about 3 times a week, every week, literally pimped out. I'd have to come downstairs and watch, like, looked like a fucking sex show in the house. I never had a clue what was going on. I never had a clue. You know, I was an 8-year-old kid. You know, I just knew that, obviously, whatever I was doing was getting Mum and Dad money for, like, the cigarettes, the corned beef pasties, the drinking stuff, you know. And I never had a say in the matter. I never had no say, you know. And then I get sent back to bed, you know, and I get up in the morning, back passage bleeding. I had to go to school, and because it was the 70s, nothing stood out. You know, and I don't know if any of your viewers are aware of the 70s and the 80s. It was kind of like a bad time for us kids for paedophilia. So like 60s, 70s and 80s were really, really bad times. It was happening non-stop. It was all over the southwest and the southeast of England. It was, even up north, it was really, really bad. Us kids never stood a chance. And the reason why, if people are asking, why didn't the school do anything about it? Well, it's quite simple. Because when I went to school, after being raped about the 3rd time, I had a bite on my back when my dad had raped me. And he bit my shoulder as he was getting excited. And a teacher called Mr. Flavin, Chris Flavin, had spotted the bite on my back. And he asked me what that was. And I told him it was a dog. And it looked like a horse bite. Then he asked me, like, you know, was everything all right and stuff? And I thought, well, if I'm going to get help, he's going to help me. And then I explained about what was happening at home, what was happening in Bolton's, like next door, what was happening with people from the club and stuff. And he was a paedophile himself, and he's now a convicted paedophile as well. You know, I've been interviewed by the police in the past about him as well. You know what I mean? And he kind of put me into a unit called Special Unit in school, because I wasn't exactly bright either. I was a bit of a dumb kid. And so I'd go in a special unit with him. So I'd go to school in the daytime, and I'd be raped in school in the daytime, or molested, as they want to call it. Then I'd come home from school to have like a shitty tea, a good hiding, sent upstairs, called back down, in next door or downstairs, and it started all over again. So I had no escape from it. Wherever I looked, if it wasn't in school, it was at home, it was with the neighbours. You know, I was literally trapped.
Yeah, totally trapped.
You know,
night in a hell world.
And you know, that went on for 4 years. That went on from 1978 to 1982. And the only reason with 4 years, with going in next doors and people coming from the SCA, which was a club they used to go to come to the house, you know, like the Kinnegans, the Shepherds, Don Cooper, a horrible bastard called Podgy, just loads of them. You know what I mean? This is people who I knew that would come to the house and rape me.
What age were they?
30s.
Okay,
40s,
so they were like the parents' age.
Oh Christ, they were older. Some
older,
were
older.
Yeah. Some were older. No.
But these are the people they knew from this community group, and the neighbours.
And they just
literally anyone for money, anyone for a little bit of money.
I was a proper like I got pimped out. End of. I got pimped out as a child. I was not safe. I was not protected. And I was not sheltered from it. But also as well with me nan and gramps now and again, because me dad was quite a horrible person, we kind of lost touch with nan and granddad.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we lost touch, and now and again I'd get sent upstairs when they come round to see us, and I'd hear their lies. You could hear them downstairs talking, saying I'd gone out playing, and I was upstairs, but I was just too scared to speak out. Who was going to believe me? You know what I mean? If the school didn't. You know,
I was going to say, maybe they were the only way to, only people that would have believed you.
They did later on in life, but at the time, I was just so scared as a child. I was getting battered, I was getting raped, I was getting beaten, I was getting severely and heavily abused. What kid in their right mind is going to talk, is going to speak out? And to top it off, because I was an abused child, I was like, I was going to school as a trampy child. So because I was, I was short, I was malnourished. When you're hungry, that word.
Yeah.
So I ain't that clever. So, I would go to school hungry. So I'd eat out of school ash bins, and I never had the best uniform on. So I was doomed if when I went to school. I'd get a good kicking in the playground from the kids, because I was like this little trampy kid, and I'd get thrown around the fucking playground. You know what I mean? And I got battered for 2 years in school for my appearance, because my dad would cut me hair up to here like my fringe, to do anything to make me a target. I smelt because of semen, because of your backside. And I had a rough time going to school. I'd get beat going to school from the kids. Then I'd go in school, I'd get raped. Then I'd come home, I'd get battered, I'd get raped. And I'd go to bed and I'd get woke up and I'd get raped again. That was what I went through. And that's just putting it mildly to the cameras. That is really putting it mildly. I went through that it was 4.5 years that happened. Then what I started doing in 1982, I started truanting from school. Not all the time. I'd take a day off there and I'd take a day off there. Because I'd go to a place called Henley's Lake in Bristol, where it was a big outdoor lake, but you had to climb over a fence. And the only reason why I went there, one, I could bathe and clean my backside, because it was hurting and bleeding. And I had enough it was too hard to walk to put either newspaper or toilet paper up your bum to stop the blood. Okay? So I used to go there it kind of felt, when I got in the water, it was cold, it kind of numbed it. It kind of made it, I could wash my underpants, a bit rude, but I could do things like that. And then, I'd do like a day here or a day there, but I got pulled by the school, because back then you had a thing called the school board, and because I couldn't account for the days, like they weren't sick days, they called it truancy. And I remember coming in from school one day and getting a right hiding from my mum, because she said, "You got a letter here, you're going to go to court for not going to school, what you been up to?" And I said, "Look, I've been going down Henley's Lake." And, when I told her why, she just went ballistic and started giving me a slap and said, "Well, you're going to go to court on the 2nd of June, 1982. And that was a Wednesday. And it was a place called Bristol Juvenile Court, the old Bridewell. In Bristol, it's now gone, it's now pulled down. So I'll go to court, and the only thing I ever did wrong in court was tell the truth. Wish I never done it. Wish I'd have kept my mouth shut and said, yeah, I did it because I didn't want to, go to school. And I got asked by the judge. Well, there was 3 judges. And they asked me why I didn't go to school. And I thought, well, if I told the truth, there's a good chance they're going to put me back with Nan and Grandad. So I told the truth. I said, I'm being raped at home. Mum was sat behind me, mine. She just put her head down. She was literally, because you used to have 3 chairs in the front and 3 in the back. And Mum took me to court and she was sat behind me. And I could, as I was talking, I could feel her hand on my neck. And I thought, no, if I told the truth, I'm going back to Nan and Grandad. I'm going to be safe from all this. And I just said I was being raped at home, and I was being raped by Mr. Flavin at school. And I've had enough of being beat up by the kids and being hungry and dressing like a tramp. And they didn't believe me. They done court and recess for like 20 minutes. They called me back in and give me an approved school order till I was 18 and a half. So an approved school is like an assessment centre. It's a naughty kids thing, because they said I was naughty because I didn't go to school, and they said that I was naughty because I lied about being raped. But I asked them to look at my back passage in court, and nobody would. They just give me the approved school order. Then I had to go to the other side, and I got put into care. I had to wait in a room for a couple of hours, and I met a guy, a kid who went with me, who I now know was Anthony Lugo. And me and him went off with little kiddie cuffs on. We got cuffed because she got a court order, taken out of the court, into the multi-storey car park, into a car, and taken to an approved school in Bath. And that was in 1982. So,
and this is where it gets. You think it's bad? So, like, at the moment, I mean, it's.
So,
yeah.
I've arrived in 3 ways. 181 Old Froome Road. So I go into dates and stuff. 181 Old Froome Road, Coombe Down, Bath. It was opposite St Martin's Hospital. It was an approved school. 20 boys, 20 girls. It was, the building and the land was owned by a lovely gentleman, not a lovely gentleman, called Lord Bath. Okay? He owned it. And he kept horses there. And we went on a sunny Wednesday afternoon, because it was a Wednesday, the sun was out, and it felt it. When the car we went in like an estate car. We went in, and it felt like everything went black, because the sun kind of died off when we went in, and we got taken out of the car, went to this black door, got led in. It was a great big house, so the gate was shut behind us. Got led into freeways and got told to stand out outside the office, himself and Anthony. And then we had to wait to be taken in the office. And they said, like, you're going to be with us for 6.5 years. And if you're a good lad, you'll be with us for 4.5 years. This is the rules, blah, 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 blah. This is what you got to do. You go to school every day, Then we got shown around by a guy called John Turner, who was staff. He took us up to the dormitories, said, that's your bed, there's Anthony's bed. There was 3 boys' dormitories, 3 girls' dormitories. Then he showed us the classrooms, the dining room, the stables, the barn. He showed us outside. He showed us what you do with your clothes, and like you just got the first day, like the introduction. Then we got to meet all the other kids then, like in the afternoon, which was quite kind of scary, because I was like really upset. I didn't really know what was going on. Kind of like mad really, because I actually cried for me mum. You know what I mean? I was like, wanted to tell her that I was sorry, and, because I come home. And I didn't really know what was going on. Like I said, I wasn't an intelligent kid. And then, we met all the other kids. They all seemed all right. We had like tea, and the kids kind of spoke to us a little bit. But all the kids were kind of withdrawn. They weren't really like, I don't know. It was just a weird vibe, And I was like, and I was really emotional as well. I was kind of really upset. Still didn't really look like, to be told, like, I didn't know how long 6.5 years was. It didn't dawn on me that it would be a long, long time. I had no idea. I was kind of thinking, like, is it going to end tomorrow? Are they going to come and get us? take us back, but it never happened. And then obviously we had tea at night with the kids, and then we had to go up, have a wash, get ready for bed at 8 o'clock. Then the staff come and made sure that you was in bed. Then you had a thing then called first night beats. Yeah, you never heard of that?
Oh God.
Yeah, no. All the like, if anybody's viewers have been in a proof school in the 80s or 70s would understand it. Every kid had a thing called first night beats, where the kids got their pillowcases, they put their shoes in there and anything hard, and kind of you pull back you had to strip off naked, lay on your lay kind of like still, and they would all like hit you with stuff and punch you. It's called first night beats. Every kid got it, boys and girls. That was kind of like your initiation sort of thing. And I kind of thought, well, if that's the worst, like, you know, that's going to happen sort of thing, then like this is going to be a piece of cake, really. But I still didn't realise how long it was.
Right.
So then obviously the next day you get up, a bit sore from the night before, but I was still sore from my back passage. So I was kind of like, I went to the office the next morning, that was on a Thursday, and kind of explained that I was still bleeding. And I remember one of the staff, he was one of the head staff, his name was John Turner. Horrible piece of work, big ginger bloke. And he asked me to bend over and like so he could inspect my backside. So I had to pull my trousers in, like boyfriend's down at the time, and I kind of bend over, and I thought he was going to help me, and he didn't. He kind of put his fingers up inside my backside, and just kind of said the favourite, like the horrible words, and said like you would do, and I thought I didn't know what he meant, but like you would do, and then he asked me what happened at home, and what happened at school, and I explained what happened at school. And I explained what happened at home. And I suppose in his eyes I was seasoned. I was ready for business, I suppose. So then on the Thursday night, it was a bit different from the first night, because we had to go and have a bath and stuff and get cleaned up and put jammies in. And then we were taken down, first of all, we went up into the dormitory. And I always wondered why, like, because the boys would be like just sat on their beds, just looking at the ceiling, and I thought, like, bloody hell, it's a bit different from last night, because I thought it was going to get beat again. And the door opened, and we had a head boy. His name's John Beecham, and he was like the head boy. He was the oldest lad. He had his own room, and he kind of like come in, picked me, picked Anthony, never forget it. Picked a guy called Joe Hill. He was a lovely kid as well. And he took us downstairs. And like me and Auntie are looking at Joe, and Joe was like just doing this with his head. So we had to follow John into what we used to call the TV room. And we went in the TV room, and there was about 6 or 7 like elderly, like in our eyes, gentlemen, like with like smoking, like they had like you could smell like cigar smoke, you know. And one of them had a cigarette, and they brought some girls down as well from the girls' bit. So there was about 7, no, there wasn't, about 8 of us, because there was more girls than boys. And then we had to strip off naked, put your jammies in, like just chuck them off, stand there naked, and you had to go in front of each and every person, and they would touch you up, and you know, then. It all started again. You know, all what I went through at home. Got told to go on my all fours, and that was the first time ever I got really raped brutally, because the bloke who I went to was a bit of a big, like, overweight chap, and I had to go on my hands and knees, and he really hurt when he started raping me. And obviously he had his hands kind of like on my throat and struggling to breathe. I remember kind of like really dry, like really starting to get really dry, and then just started to feel weird that things were like floating in the air, and you know, and he was just trying to strangle me. Then he really pushed me hard. Then I kind of collapsed, and he fell on top of me and put a pillow on my face and was trying to, like, yeah, he was just getting excited, you know, and he was just, then he finished, then that was when Clive, one of the staff called Clive Hill, and he was all right the first day. Then on the second night, he really showed like of his true feelings, and then I got raped by Clive. Then like there was, you could just hear the girls, and like we were all crying. You know, the girls were sobbing, and because there was one girl in particular, her name was Dawn, and she was lovely. I used to give her my sweets. She was really really nice, and she'd always like walk around freeways like with her head down, and she kind of spoke like really really soft, and she's always, her arm was full of marks, where she used to try and pop her veins with pins to die, sort of thing. And whenever, like, she was there as well at the time, and I remember, you know, she was being raped, and it is horrible because you like we got finished with, and we had to watch Dawn, and she was just numb to it. You know, she was, because she was brought up in an approved school. She was born in, like, she was basically born into an approved school, so that was all she knew, and she was being raped and watching her being raped, and it was just horrible because you could see her eyes kind of like rolling. Sorry, you could see her eyes kind of rolling, and we had to wait until they finished. Then we got led what we used to call the bathhouse, which was at the back of freeways. So then we got led to the bathhouse to be cleaned up. There'd be a bath running, and as we went in, John Beecham was naked, and then John Beecham like got jealous because he didn't have his fun in there. So I had to get in the bath with John, and he used to like drown on us when raping us. Yeah. So then we had to go all through it with John, like Beecham. So he got like raped like 3 times in one night. Cut of different people plus John Beecham. That's before you've gone to bed. Yeah, but yeah.
This is when you were saying to me before how you actually like wishing you could go back and be raped by your dad.
Yeah,
and because it was like
because it wasn't as brutal. Yeah, because the rape at home wasn't as bad as the rape in freeways, because it was like, you know, they were rough at home and they hurt. You know, every bit of it hurt, but it was like, you know, with what we went through in freeways was nothing. I'd have done that all my life at home. Like, you know, that's not my thing. But it was just easier being raped in Bristol than it was in Bath. You know, it was so much easier. But then, of course, that ain't it, is it then? So, you know, you get yourself cleaned up, then you go to bed. You know, I used to lay in bed and I used to be shaking in like a ball with the pain. So I'd be like curled up, your back passage bleeding, and you know, it was more or less every other night. And then there was one time when I got raped, and they caused a bit of damage to my back, and I remember being like carried back to bed because my body started going into like a spasm, and that's why I got a lot of back problems now. And I remember I was in bed and I was kind of curled up. I was shaking with the pain because like, my body was shaking, and they had a doctor come in and he pulled back the blanket, because we had blankets and sheets then, there was no quilts. He pulled back the blanket and the sheet, looked in my back passage, undone his trousers and flies, and just like masturbated and urinated over me, and just left me. And that was a doctor that come.
That's the doctor?
Yeah, it was a doctor. Yeah, and he basically, then I got done then for wetting the bed, but it wasn't me. I didn't wet the bed. The doctor did. Like, he weed over me. I didn't, you know, and I got put in the book because they said that I wet the bed. Because you used to get a wallop look from wetting the bed. You just get the cane.
You got caned for that?
Yeah, for wet the bed. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you'd have to go down in the morning, look, after breakfast, you have to go in the dining room, and what they do, because you had like different night staff on at nights, it would either be like Dora and Emsey, Vic and Den, or like a lot of them in no 2 names. We had 2. We had a Scottish horrible bastard called Peter Tobin, and we had a right horrible nasty, we used to have to call him Uncle Sid. His name was Sidney Cook.
Sidney Cook.
Yeah.
So he was there.
Yeah,
Was
he was
what working there?
He was night staff and day staff.
Was he?
Yeah, we used to have to. It depend if he come into freeways in a dress, we'd have to call him Auntie Sid, and and if he come in and it'd be Uncle Pete, and if it was if he had his trousers and short, and we had to call him Uncle Sid, and if Tobin come in with his dress, Auntie Pete, and they were.
Because obviously Sidney Cook is one of the most well-known outed paedophiles from the 80s, right?
Yeah, well, 70s and 80s.
70s, 80s,
he's still alive now.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
He's still in prison, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's
in his 90s, isn't he?
Yeah, so they say. But he was part of the staff in Freeways.
Unbelievable. So all the staff they were all paedophiles, or
every single one. Because what they used to do was they used to get 6 nights a week. They get kids. They used to bring kids into Freeways as well from different homes. You see the buses pull up, like the vans with different kids, and there'd always be loads of gentlemen, well-to-do posh gentlemen. I know you shouldn't really call them that because they're not. They're animals.
Yeah.
But they were always they were a lot elderly, and you go around and you get paraded, and they pick you out, and you'd have to get undressed and go on all fours, or some of them used to put carrier bags over our heads, and pull it tight, and
what, to try and
because they used to like it when you used to nearly pass out,
right?
Because I suppose, I don't know, like the police said afterwards, it made them, it turned them on. We were kids, and I was 12 years old when that was going on. So you can imagine the fun we had with Sidney Cook. He wasn't a nice man.
Oh yeah. So do you want to mention talk about him then?
Yeah. So I got a problem now on my spine because of Sidney Cook, because I was on in the garden, at the front one day. We had a tree with a swing, and I was chatting to a little kid called Lester Starling and Joe Hill, and as I went and got on it, Sidney Cook come running over, and remember a wooden shovel with a handle, kind of does that? People used to cut them down, didn't they, so far? And they used to use them. He used to use it for pushing bulbs in the ground. So he kind of took me trousers and pants down, pushed me on the swing, pushed me over the swing. He let John Beecham rape me in front of the staff. They were looking out the windows. The kids were looking at as well. And then Sidney put when John finished, the wooden handle of his shovel into my backside, and that's why I got problems now. Because you got the cock shit on the bottom, and on mine I got a bit of a chip in it. Yeah, because he really pushed it in really hard, and I had there was a splinter or something inside it, and I had to have an operation on my back.
Well, they actually let you go and have the operation, or was this?
No.
I mean, this was years after.
Yeah,
sorry,
years after. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so you had that, but you could feel that it did damage.
Well, yeah, because my back used to spasm,
right,
and my leg used to shake, and then again when I walk, my leg would just give out, and I'd completely crumble, and it was basically trapped a nerve in the bottom of my spine, where he used this spike thing, and with Sidney, like I say, it was either Uncle Sid or Auntie Sid, depending how he felt, but he was a very evil man. He was, I'd tell you what, he would batter you, you wouldn't need a reason. If you was in the book and he was on days, and you had your breakfast, and he'd call you up, he used to love whipping you, especially on the tips of the fingers, and if you jumped, you'd have to have it again, because he'd say a good boy, don't jump. You know what I mean? So you kind of and you couldn't help but jump, could you? Because if he didn't use the cane, he'd use a ruler, and he used to whipping, and every time you kind of moved, you'd have to have another one in front of the kids because you was in the book from the night before, a night for wet in the bed, and he'd be why'd you wet the bed? And I'd say, no, I didn't. The dogs would weed over me. He's like, right, another one for lying. And I was like...
So he dished out a lot of the punishment,
Him, Peter Tobin, John Cerner, Clive Hill, John Beecham, Dore, MZ, Vic, and then their surname was Greenwood. They was like,
They're all teachers. Like, what were
Yeah,
they?
they were
Yeah, they were
staff.
They were staff.
yeah, they were staff.
They were staff. And were there female? Did you say there were female teachers there as
Yeah,
well?
Dora and Emsey.
Okay, Dora and it. I guess there's no difference between the male and female. They were both as evil as each other, right?
Yeah, they both. Yeah, they. They a lot of them would stitch you up and put you in a book for stuff you never done. Like
Right.
say you swore,
Yeah.
and they'd kind of like, if they was on nights, the next night they'd laugh about it and say, "How was your beating today?" And I never like.
So not one of them had any kind of like compassion of any
Nah,
kind.
no.
They were just one big evil club.
Yeah, it was there was like 40 of us there, 40 kids.
Yeah.
And it was like every day a kid was getting beat, or it's just what we went through.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put a dead goldfish through because you'd have more respect. And there'd be like a lot of times as well, like especially with John Beecham. So we used to have a mop bucket in the dining room, and there would be like dirty water in there, like bits of air. One time John Beecham had diarrhea, and he like done it in the bucket, and what we used to get then was green cups, and we used to like at night we'd have to go in, dip your cup in, and you'd be like air, grit, spit, urine, bleach water, like his diarrhea, and you'd have to drink it.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's what we had to go through. And we'd have to, and you'd have to drink it, because I made the mistake, of I took my gulp and I threw up, but then I had to eat me sick as well.
Oh.
So, yeah, sorry, John, but you wanted it.
No, I'm reliving it, like, kind of, in my mind with you.
I do it every day, mate.
I know.
I'd never escape from it, and
I just can't believe. Obviously I believe it, but it's just like, how can people be that evil? Like, it's just shocking.
I got a scar now. It goes up my finger, and John Beecham, we had a new back door fitted in the kitchen, so he made me put my hand on the door, and as he slammed it, he trapped my finger in, because I was shaking on the door.
Right.
Shut, he pulled my trousers and pants down and raped me when I had my hands. I was shaking, and the blood was coming down, and kind of broke my finger. Had a big split on it, and he got a kick out of raping me with my hand trapped in the door, and I was screaming. So I was in pain with my finger, because you hurt your finger, it throbs, doesn't it? So my finger was trapped, and because it was really bleeding, I had to put it. When he finished, he took me into the dining room, through the kitchen, and I had to put my hand into the bucket of everything. Then I had to have a cup.
What?
For bleeding.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they never emptied the bucket. Look, they would put it in a cupboard and get it out.
It's just unrelentless.
It's
relentless, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
absolutely relentless.
And it was like, Sydney. If Uncle Sid was on, he would love it. You know what I mean? He would absolutely love kids throwing up.
Didn't he torture you in the bath or something? Like electric shock or something, or not?
Do you know about that, do you?
You told me, yeah.
Yeah. So what they used to do to us was, obviously, the electric shock was when they took us to St Martin's Hospital. That's when we was 13. And
we're not jumping too far ahead here, are we? In the story,
we're still at 12.
Yeah.
So I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. I just don't. I don't want to pull us away from the timeline.
We're still in that.
Basically,
we're still in 1982.
Yeah.
And again, with what I've gone over for the last 4 years, I still haven't touched it. That's only a day. So yeah, it's still in 82. So with Sidney Cook, to say he was evil was an understatement. That man was pure he was just pure evil. He really, really was. He was. The more he hurt you, the more he got off on it, and to the point that what we used to do as well in freeways. So people have heard of the Younger Games. Okay, so basically what we would have to do, we had a minibus, a blue transit minibus, and they would get either 6, 8, or a maximum of about 10 boys and girls. So they would take us from Freeways, which is 181 Old Froome Road, and they would take us down to a wooded area called Rainbow Woods, okay, which I now got told a couple of years ago is like a satanic place. It's like a weird wood, but it's called Rainbow Woods. So what they would do is we'd go in a minibus at night. Clive would always be driving, and it was horrible because it's like as we used to go up the lane into Rainbow Woods, it was dark and stuff, and he'd be driving and he'd be like swaying the van, so you're in the back, you're falling like you're falling around like all over the place, sort of thing, or coming off your seat. Him in Beecham and Sidney Cook would be laughing, you know, and they'd be like playing their like, you know, stuff like Shakin' Stevens. There was shit you don't forget, like, you know what I mean? They'd be playing the Shakin' Stevens shit really, really loud. Then as we got into the lane, we'd have to get undressed, and this would be about, in the winter, would be about 7, 8 o'clock. In the summer, be about 9 or 10 o'clock as it got dark. But it was always darker in the winter and always colder. So when it stops, you'd have to be stripped off naked, okay? And you'd have nothing on, like, so you're completely naked. You've got no shoes, socks, you're completely naked. And then he'd open the side door and say you got 10 seconds. If you can get away, you will get away. And obviously they lied because there was no 10 seconds. It was like 4 or 5 seconds, which if it was just as you got out of the van, so you got like a wooded area, which is huge. Our job was to get out and we had to start running, but we had to go in different directions. And what the staff done then was put men, like whoever paid, they used to be lying in wait for us. And so what they would do then is, as you run past the bush sort of thing, they'd get you. They'd kind of come out and they always kind of like basically went into your stomach, like. What
do you mean?
Yeah,
they grabbed you.
Yeah. Then they pull you down into the bush or wherever they were, and how far you got, and then you could have like 2 or 3 men that would take it in turns, just raping the back out of you, just literally, just going to town on us, absolutely. And what you get then with Sidney Cook and Beecham used to put like a tie around your neck. So on one occasion I had an old man raping me, and he had me held on the side and he was pulling me into him, and Sidney Cook had a tie around my throat and he was trying to pull me like tug of war sort of thing. And to a point that you know, a kid died doing it. A kid got killed. They literally fucking killed him.
By doing that?
By doing that.
Yeah.
Just literally, they were that bad. You know, it was that evil. It was Hunger Games. You get out, you were chased down. You were grabbed. You were severely, heavily raped in undergrowth. Okay? And, you know, you got 3 men, you got 4 men, and they're ripping you around. They're ripping you left, right, and centre. You haven't got a hope in hell. Okay? This could go on for an hour. It could go on for 2 hours. To me, it felt like all night. It felt like it was never going to end. A lot of the time, with the suffocation and the strangulation, you'd pass out. You would literally pass out. You had, you know, and... You know, when it all finished, sort of thing, you were taken back to the van, just slung like cattle, like you would a dead deer in a van. You were just took back in, but it didn't stop there. So then you were driven back to Freeways. Then, of course, because you're filthy, dirty, you're covered in semen, you're bleeding, you then had to go back through the bathhouse. And then you'd get in the, you enter in the bathhouse, and Clive had got out of the van, running, strips off, and he's naked in the bath. And he used to just think, oh, not a fucking again. Then you'd have to get in with Clive. He'd rape you. Then, you know, Beecham then would be pushing your head under. Or he... Oh, that's fucking wrong. That was what we went through. And we were kids. And this is still, you know, I had this from 1982 to 1986. I spent 4.5 years in that place. But then again, with Freeways, we used to have a barn, okay? And we had another member of staff called Ken Watkins. He was fucking, I'm sorry for the language,
No. I think you deserve. The language is absolutely fitting.
And I do
to
apologise
get
because
it
people
absolutely.
watching.
Say it raw.
There was a
mate.
guy called Ken Watkins. He came from Bath, and he's down St John. The reason I know because the police told me. And he was a member of staff, but he always worked nights. And what he would do was we would go in. He would get us out of our dormitories. We'd have to go into the barn, and there'd be men in there in the barn. They'd be drinking, and it always smelt like horrible of cigars. It was vile, and these were like just horrible men, like really, really horrible. To the point that one of them was a judge, who I'll go to that in a minute, and so. You had like what it would do then. They would put you have to hold your hands out or hold them up. So they tie your hands with a rope, tie your feet, but around the waist, so the rope come down for the middle. He'd then tie you up over a beam. So they pulled it so your body went in like that. So they could do that to your body, which meant the paedophile could go deeper into your back passage. Or what he used to like doing as well was tying both your feet together. But having so your legs were like a V, then he'd tie us up and dangle us down, like whip our feet with rulers or bits of wood, or burn them with a blowtorch, then open your legs and like rape us. That's what I said to you about my life, when I said to you,
This is just like, I've never heard anything like this.
If you was to make a film about it, it was like Saul, Hostel, and whatever else you want to put on a good day. They're like a U to me. I don't watch horror films. I don't like them.
This makes Pulp Fiction look like Bambi, doesn't it?
I suppose it does. I've never even seen.
Well, no, I mean, there's obviously one scene in that is there's a rape scene, but this is just like
we were.
Was then? I mean, surely kids must have just wanted to like take their own life.
Yeah, but they
not?
did. Yeah,
did they? Some did.
Yeah, some just slit their wrists.
Did they?
Yeah, and what was hard was what I didn't like was like you'll get kids that come in, and you didn't really get to see them for long because they were never there. They got taken off to either Longleat House, which was where Lord Bath lived, and I'll give you a couple of people that used to come to. So we used to have a guy called Bishop Bowles. He was like the chief of the church. Peter Bowles, his name was, Bishop Bowles. He's dead now, good place for the bastard. And he used to come with a guy called Lord Bath, who owned Longleat House and like the land around Longleat, but he owned our place. So they would also come into freeways. But those two would always always be in the barn as well with Ken Watkins, but they were really pally with Sidney Cook.
Right.
Yeah, they were really pally with Uncle Sid. If Uncle Sid was about, he'd come with a couple of men.
From the church?
Yeah, but it was always Bishop Bowles.
Yeah.
Like, he'd always be there. And, some of, like, Bishop Bowles' friends. The Uncle Sid had good mates, didn't he? He had Jimmy Savile, but I only saw Jimmy Savile in Rainbow Woods. I never saw him at Freeways.
Right, okay.
I know you've been at Freeways because I see him come in now and again. But I was never in his rapes present.
But he was raping kids at Rainbow Woods, Jimmy.
Jimmy was, yeah. Yeah, he'd been there with Bishop Bowles because that's all I remembered. When I started seeing Bishop Bowles in the barn, I see his face at Rainbow Woods as well. That, when we...
But you didn't have any... He didn't try with you, Jimmy Savile?
No, but he was at Rainbow Woods.
Right.
I'd seen him at Rainbow Woods because it was like... He had like weird hair, like a mop, but it was just weird. But he was really pally with Lord Bath, like really pally, and that was the thing with Lord Bath because it is like I say, he got on well with Peter Tobin, he got on well with Bishop Bowles, So yeah, he had some good.
Because Jimmy Savile would procure children.
Yeah, and they got it wrong about. He preferred boys like them.
Jimmy.
I seen him with the boys. Seen him with a couple of girls in Rainbow Woods, but he was, generally chasing down the boys. So his particular kid, was a boy. It wasn't like they say in the papers and stuff, that it was this girl, that girl. I don't know if he was an open book or not, you know what I mean? He had no... To be honest, when you got a kid, you don't care, do you? In their eyes. They ain't got no morals, have they? You know what I mean? They were my friends. They don't give a toss who it is, do they? To them, it's going to... Any hole's a goal, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've paid their money. They want their goods. But that was the calibre of people we're dealing with. That's what we're,
These are very wealthy people that were turning up, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And like one of them was a judge who I met in Crown Court
later on.
Yeah.
So we're talking judges, lords, I don't know, aristocrats,
We had it one night in Freeways. A police car pulled up. And one of my friends, another chap called Nick Ells, when we left Freeways, we got in contact a few years back. And obviously, because of Freeways, we had a lot in common. We were there, but we become really, really good pals after that. And Nick was very vocal about what happened and what we saw. You know what I mean? Blah 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 blah. And he, but Nick's now dead because he killed himself. Look, because he couldn't hack it because it just got too much. And it was just. And again, that's only a bit of it. Again, I'll need about a year on a podcast
to get it all
I've
out.
only got 3 hours.
And I'm guessing when you're in Freeze, there's no contact with your family at this point.
I had contact.
You did?
Yeah.
And were you telling them what was going on?
Well, it was hard because I didn't see my mum and dad for about 6 months. Then when I went into Freeways, because I had 2 other brothers, and they were only babies. Then I remember having a visit with my mum and dad, and she had a lump. And it wasn't a nice visit, she was telling me to be a good boy, you'd be coming home soon, just because you had it with a member of staff behind you, and you always had a member of staff stood behind you. And, she gave me some sweets, and they had about an hour. Then I didn't see them for about a year, like mum and dad. Then they came back to Freeways, and I got told I was having a visit on a Sunday, and I got took into the TV room when they put the tables up, and mum had a baby.
Right.
So dad had the baby on his arms, and mum had a baby.
Right.
And she was saying, if you've been a good boy, and I had Clive Hill, he was stood behind me, and he kept rubbing his penis in my shoulder, and David turned round with the baby, saw him doing what he was doing, and David smiled at me. And just kept saying to Ellen,
sorry, David, which is David?
My dad.
Oh, sorry, David's your dad. Yeah.
He had my younger brother.
Yeah.
And he was playing, saying, he kept distracting my mum, because every time my mum would ask me a question, David would go, look now, he's smiling, with the baby. So she didn't talk to me. And but when David turned round, Clive Hill was rubbing his penis in my shoulder, through his trousers. And my mum just kept telling me, you'll be home in 2.5 years, be a good boy. What's it? And I couldn't think. I was thinking, bloody hell, So this is now 1984. So we've gone through 82, 83. Yeah. And then, she's got a baby. I never knew she was pregnant. It was my brother, and I didn't know it.
Right.
It was I didn't see her, Then I didn't see her then until about a week before Christmas, and I've seen him in 4.5 years. I think I've seen him about 6 times. They didn't bother coming out. It wasn't that far, but it was about 25 miles from Bristol, but they just didn't bother coming out to visit. They had no reason, did they? She had 3 kids. She had the youngest one to right her wrongs. That's what she always told people, that she had 3 our lives were fucked, and she had the youngest brother who I got no bond with at all because of that, to right her wrongs. He had the perfect life.
Did he?
Yeah, he had a brilliant life. They gave him everything, bought him out and get a house, bought him cars.
So why was it that they targeted you?
David always said that I ruined his life, that he got Ellen pregnant, that
right.
Me coming out ruined his life. Well, I didn't have to be born.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The rumour had it, the only reason why she was pregnant was because he fucking raped her in the woods. But she stuck with him. That was the only reason. She was 12. Well, it happened when she was 11. Then she had me at 12. And then he always blamed me. he said that I ruined his life. I never told him what to do.
Yeah.
It was nothing to do with me. I had a nice life with Nan and Gramps. They took, the only reason why I went back with my mum and dad is because they got £27.50 a week extra for having me back in the house.
On benefits.
That's all it was. He never worked. He was the most laziest shit going. He was never a dad. He was a piece of shit. He's still alive. He still lives in Bristol.
Yeah.
And she is. He's an absolute piece of shit. I hate the guy dearly.
Can we say his last name? Or
Yeah,
not?
Leighton. David Leighton, his name is. I've changed my name. I'm now called Darren Webster. I've changed it by deed poll.
Yeah.
My name was Darren Jeffrey Leighton. It was. My name now is Darren William Webster. I've done it by deed poll.
Yeah.
I've nothing to do with them.
Yeah,
scumbags.
I don't blame you.
I got nothing to do with them people.
Yeah.
They are utter shit.
They're
And
evil to the
they
core.
put me through hell, and you know it.
Yeah.
They ruined my fucking life, John.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
No one gave a shit about me.
No.
I did nothing wrong. It wasn't my fault that he got carried away in the woods.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was nothing to do with me.
Fucker.
But I paid the fucking price for it. I went through fucking hell. You know, and it did. It fucking really... I've had a shit life. This is why this is your point of doing these podcasts and talk, is to let people know that have been through the same as me, that, you know, there is hope. There is hope.
You've got some bloody strength, mate. You have. I cannot believe the strength you've got to have gone through all of that. And you've even, we were talking before, we had a cup of tea, and you said you're even helping other people with this, and people are coming, and you're like a bit of a beacon of light for other people. You've got some bloody strength, mate. I tell you, you are one strong man.
It's because I've lost a lot of friends through it as well, mate. I've lost a lot of friends that were abused. I lost a lot of friends that were in care with me. You know, and I speak to some of their families, and it really, really hurts. You know, people say to me now and again, like, you're strong. You fucking ain't strong. I got triggers. Like, I can't sleep, but I got to have a light on. Okay, I sleep every night with a light on. Me and Kelly, we got a dog, and we can't call the dog's bed a bed. We have to call it a cushion, because to me, bed's like a bad place. You know, Kelly can't follow me upstairs. She has to wait until I go upstairs. Excuse me, sorry. Then she'll come behind me. You know, I spent years and years and years of my life trying to kill myself. No shame about that. Taking overdoses, trying to hang myself. You know, I spent years trying to kill myself. I actually spent years, because I was told by them bastards in Bristol that I was scum, that I wouldn't nothing, that I would never amount to nothing. Well, do you know what? I have. I haven't got a pot to piss in, but do you know what? I'm happy. I found my place in life, and I'm happy. Do you know what? Love or money don't buy that. You know? And to say somebody's strong, yeah, to others it may look it, but I don't. I still feel weak, because I'm still tormented by stuff. You know, I still got triggers. You know, there are people out there that still should be, that are out there still, that should be in prison. So I was trying to tell you that before we got taken away. So we were in Freeways one night, and a police car pulled up. Me, Nick, Anthony, Joe, Lester, a kiddie called Donald, like fucking idiots, hugged each other and started dancing, because we thought we were going home, because we seen the police car pull up, and 3 police got out of it. We thought we were saved. In our dormitory, like fucking idiots, we were dancing, thinking we were going home. We even got called downstairs. We went in the TV room, and there was 3 police officers sat there, and we were like, fuck me, you know, they're going to help us. Oh, they helped us, all right. They got undressed, and we got on our hands and knees, and they went through us. You know, we weren't protected. We weren't protected, to the point, at one time in Freeways, I was injected in the neck with like morphine or something, but they injected me too much in one of those sex orgies that I overdosed. So I was dumped outside of Freeways in a pair of underpants on Old Froome Road, and somebody had come out. I was dumped on the ground. What they said, because I then got taken to St Martin's Hospital, because they said that I escaped and that I had bought drugs.
Oh,
but I didn't.
God.
I had no money.
Yeah.
I was in a pair of underpants, and so basically they put too much morphine in. So I was later told in life by my own GP that it was classed as an overdose, and on my record it said that I escaped from lawful custody, but I didn't because I was in a pair of pants. So we got raped and got dumped outside to cover their ass. And then I remember coming round in A&E in St Martin's Hospital, and there was John Turner, Sidney Cook, and Clive Hill in the cubicle bit with me, and they were talking to the doctor by the curtain thing. And as the doctor come in, he pulled back the blanket, groped me, pulled it back over, and that was it.
The doctor did?
Yeah, the doctor.
This is no one, absolutely no one came to your help. No one even sort of saw it and intervened at all. No one had a heart.
People saw it, but people were part of that circle.
There was no one that outside of that circle who saw it and went, "That's wrong, I want to help." Nothing.
No
never
one.
Along the
way.
way.
The only woman it did, it was the woman that stopped us getting the electric therapy treatment when we got taken back to St Martin's Hospital.
Is this the same time?
Yeah, this is in. So that was in 1984. Yeah, it was 84. We got taken. We used to get taken to St Martin's Hospital to the dentist, and we get taken there in groups of 4 or 5. Then we'd have to line up outside. We'd have to go in the dentist, get undressed, get on the chair. The dentist would rape us. Then
the dentist.
Yeah, in the hospital. Yeah,
it's just one. Yeah, it's a complete network of paedophiles that they all source out.
We'd have to literally line up with your head down because there'd be a member of staff with us. You'd be sat outside with your head down, the door open, in, get undressed, lay on the chair. He'd rape you or whoever else was there. You'd come out, sit down, crying.
Yeah.
And it looked like, I remember somebody asking what was wrong with him, and he just said, well, it's the dentist. So we looked like we were fucking frightened to death. But we were frightened to death because you had members of staff with us. So basically, it turned out to be that with freeways, it was one of the magnets of the southwest for paedophilia. It was like a very, very popular place because of Lord Bath, because of Bishop Bowles, because of a few other people that, would frequent the place. And of course, with these people, there's a network. So what they do, they obviously, as I was told later on in life, spoke to the police about it a few times and give a few statements, but fuck all's ever come of it. Because they you kind of, they know who's behind it, don't they? They know that a lot of names you kind of they go, oh.
Yeah, we can't do anything with that.
The best thing you could do with that is either, shut your mouth and get on and live your life, or you know what to do. Chop your fucking self. And so, going back to the electric therapy treatment, we got taken back one day. And
to St Martin's
Hospital.
Yeah.
To have, I didn't even know what it was at the time. We had to go into a room and there was a bed and there was this machine, and it kind of led on the bed, and she put this cap on, and as she went to put the plunger thing, it was rubber, you had to bite onto it, and she kind of looked, and she said you're normal. And she told us to get off, and she was speaking to John Turner, and she kind of looked at the boys, and John put us back in the van and took us back. And she saved us from having electric therapy. It's where they put you, by all accounts, they put electrodes on your head, and they send a shock of electric through your brain, and basically it makes you a bit docile.
Why? Yeah, so why were you sent there? Just for torture?
Yeah, to have electric therapy treatment, because they told the woman that we had behavioural problems.
Right,
we were out of control kids, and that we needed calming down.
And their purpose was to make you more docile, so they could rape you when you got back.
Yeah. So,
just for extra kicks, to make...
Well, extra money, wasn't it, really? It wasn't so much the kicks, was it?
No, but why did they had to... Oh, they made money from the electric shock.
No, they made money from pimping us out.
Yeah.
So it made no odds.
But why did they do the electric shock treatment
Because kids that have had it made them docile.
Yeah.
So, and it made you, it stopped a lot of kids that got released from talking because they were class... it sent you funny.
I see what you mean, yeah.
I'll give you, for instance, Dawn had it, who was with us. She's now dead. Dawn had it. And when she kind of spoke, she she walked and she shuffled along where she got raped so much, and she always had her hands down, and she would talk like this.
Yeah.
That's what it does. It slows your brain down. So if you were to survive hell and you were to talk, not that no one was going to believe you, because according to the police and stuff, it never happened. Well, it fucking did. But it made you not such a good witness, didn't it? You know.
Yeah, they can write you off as just, you know, a little bit.
Like one of the MPs said about kids that are in the 70s and 80s approved school, that they were not to be believed because they were damaged goods. You know, and that was Keir Starmer that said that we were not to be believed, and yet he let fucking Jimmy Savile off, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
He
exactly.
actually let him off, but he let him off for a reason when he was part of the CPS. But he said that we could not make brilliant witnesses because we were damaged. We were damaged goods.
Yeah, scumbag.
Yeah,
Absolute
and
scumbag.
you know, yeah, and it was funny that he got banned from a pub in Bath, didn't he? You know, but that was the thing with freeways. It was just such a fucking bad place. It was such an evil place that in the end it got shut down. You know, and I had about 2 or 3 police visits afterwards from it, and of course everything I've told you, I've told them. Not that it went far. You know what I mean? They were doing it just to protect people, just to see what you were saying. But the problem is when you get to a certain age, and I got to 16 and a half, so I'd done 4.5 years in that place for telling the truth. That was the only crime I ever committed. I actually come out and got released back to my parents, and I come out in May of '86.
Right.
My head was fucked. My head was absolutely fucked. But I didn't leave because the night before I got released, I got put into another gang rape as a good measure. So that, with freeways.
Just before you were about to leave?
The night before.
So you knew you were about to leave at some point?
I was going the next day.
Did you know that like a few weeks before? Or like
I got told about a week prior
that
I was going in, about a week's time. And I think, if I remember, it was either a Thursday or a Friday that I'd come out. And on the night prior, I got raped again, just for good measure. Yeah, and, that's the thing. It's like, then of course, when you come out, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're absolutely fucked. You're wired to the room. You got an asshole like a fucking wizard sleeve. I know it's not funny, but fuck it. You're absolutely fucking savage. You don't trust.
Yeah.
You fucking hate on the world. You hate everything about life because of the life you've just been through.
Yeah.
And again, you got to remember, I went through so much in 4.5 years. You're going to want about a year to go through 4.5 years. All I'm doing is brushing over on stuff because there's so much. It's so deep. It's so vile. It's so fucking horrible. But it happened. And there's people out there like me that are just coming to life now to talk about these things because no one wanted to listen.
No.
You know what I mean? No one gave a shit. Well, they did give a shit, but they were just scared of what you were going to say and how you were going to say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it was. And, I come out and I just come out fucking wild. Absolutely fucking wild with no trust. Fucking hell's bells, man. I went out, out long and I was in trouble. Because I just couldn't trust. I've just had 4.5 years of being raped. Then I had fucking 4 years prior to that being raped at home. So, my head was completely smashed. And again, when I thought I was free of the rapes, I was wrong.
Really?
Because then I come out to 2 years probation. And I had a probation officer who was a part-time probation officer, and he was a part-time High Court judge. His name was Eric Pierce. I think the old bastard's still alive. And then every Friday I used to have to go to probation. Then it all started with him. But the sad thing with Eric Pierce was he was so cruel. He was so evil. He used to, every week, he would either get raped in the office or I'd have to go off with him in his car. He had an old, like, orangey Vauxhall, not Allegro, not a Vauxhall. It was an Allegro, horrible car. It always fucking stank. And the only reason why I got raped was because he told me that if I didn't do as he told me, that my younger brother at the time was about 4 years old. and he'd not been interfered with. And Eric Pierce said that if I didn't do it, they was going to get my brother. And I used to have to go every Friday to protect my baby brother because I didn't want him to get hurt, you know. And I done that for, well, it was over 2 years. It was 2.5 years. I stopped getting raped at 18.5. And every fucking week, sorry about the language, every week he would literally ask how my brother was. And I was to think, he can't go through this.
No.
You know, he can't go through that. It would have killed the kid. But it was, you know, the minute he'd say, how's your brother? How is he? Or Eric said, I drove past the house the other day and seen him in the garden. And I used to think, I had just get in the car with him.
But was he protected by your mum and dad at that point?
Yeah.
So they didn't want to do anything with him? You know?
No, they weren't interested in him. He had a good life. Nothing happened to him.
So how can the mum and dad be that evil with you, but then not be evil with the other kids?
Because, like I said, because you got no bond. When I
Right.
was born, I was in an incubator. So a baby's bond is the first 3 months with the mum, innit?
Yeah.
You get to know the smells, the
Yeah.
scent, the voice. I never had that. By all accounts, the only voice I got were from the staff in Special Care Baby Unit. I was premature, so I didn't go on with mum. I stayed on my own in hospital because I was a pound. Well, I was under a pound. So
Yeah.
straight away, there's no bond. Then I went back to Nan and Gramps. I went to Nan and Gramps. Then I left Nan and Gramps and went to Ellen and David. And I only went to them because of £27.50 a week. It wasn't for love,
No.
was it? Because if you love someone, you don't do that to someone, do you?
Yeah.
You show a kid love, regardless if he was born out of wedlock or born underage. I didn't ask to be conceived. You know, I didn't ask.
Yeah.
That was done, you know, without my consent. Because, you know, silly thing, if you had a choice, I wouldn't have gone with them pair of fucking idiots. You know what I mean? Why would you? Get a life.
Do you still talk to your brother?
No, I've not spoken to him now for 3 years. You know, no. I can't.
Growing up though, did you talk with him?
Not really.
So we don't really know maybe we don't know what happened with your little brother.
Nothing happened to my brother. No, I spoke to him.
He said he.
Yeah. But with me, I've never been close to him because of my life. I've never been. I could never get close to anybody, and I especially couldn't get close to them.
Yeah.
Because of what I'd gone through. And I tried and tried and tried. There was a thing called forgiveness, because you try and do it as you go through your life. You try and seek forgiveness in people, and it just turned to anger every single time. They always put me down. They always told people that I was nuts. They always told people that I had a screw loose. You know, no, I never. They just didn't want people knowing the truth. So they made me look a fucking fool to fools that believed them. You know, all I was, mate, was someone that had a shit life that wouldn't be believed. That they didn't want people to be. Why do they want the dirty secret coming out? I'd have took half a fucking saved me down. You know what I mean?
So you went back to live in their house at the age of 18?
16.
16, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you said it went on for 2.5 years with that probation officer. And then finally at 18, but then you, after that,
I got into crime.
Yeah.
I got heavily involved in I couldn't write. I couldn't read. How can I get a job? I couldn't even spell my name.
Really?
You know, because we didn't do schooling as such in freeways. When we was in freeways, there was a classroom. You had 2 classrooms, 20 kids in each. And when we was in freeways, the reason why we couldn't read or write, because now and again, all us kids were on edge all the time.
Yeah.
You couldn't sit on a chair properly. I'd have to sit on a chair with my backside half on, half off because of the pain. And in class, now and again, the door would open, in would walk John Beecham, take a kid out, and the teacher would go, oh, bring him back, or be nice to him, don't be horrible. He would take you into his room, rape the living fuck out you, and send you back in class. So therefore, I couldn't read. I couldn't write. You know, I didn't know anything about the fucking world. I didn't know anything about history. It was the same with all the kids. We never come out with, you know, GCSEs, whatever they want to call it, or, you know, A levels or O levels. You know, we that didn't happen to us.
But what were they doing during the day? Was there actually any structure to the days at all? Like in terms of getting to do stuff? You just sit in a
classroom doing like colouring.
Oh, right.
Bit of drawing, you know. not nothing really. You know, couldn't read. There was no books or nothing. It was just a dark, dingy room, and you would go in there in the morning, sit down. You would do a lot of it was like dot to dot, because none of us could write that. And no, there was no structure, and she was evil. We had a teacher, you know what I mean. Her name was Jill. She was evil. She used to love walloping you with the ruler, or like saying you like say you done something, so you get pulled out of class and sent down to the office. You know, and yeah, so that's why when I come out, I couldn't read or write. I couldn't because we never had we weren't given a chance to learn anything. There was nothing to learn. You know what I mean? Why do they want to teach you to learn in a paedophile ring? Why? What do they get out of it?
Yeah.
Where does it benefit them? It doesn't. It doesn't benefit.
Well, like you said, the way they just threw you into the back of the van and like you treated like cattle.
You know, we didn't know where we were going, did we? You know what I mean? I was a kid. I was 12 years old. I was 12 years old. As far as I was concerned, I was going to go to court. I was going to tell the truth. I thought in my stupid little brain that I was going to go back to Nan and Grumps. The only thing I did wrong was tell the truth. And that haunted me all my life. I told the truth.
Yeah.
And that's it. And do you know what? I paid the price dearly for that. You know? But I always continue to tell the truth. They say the truth hurts. I know it does. People don't like it. They don't like it.
Yeah.
Because it does hurt. But what hurts is what we had to go through. What hurts is what I have to go through every night in my head. You know what I mean? Every day. You know, I can't. You get things like, do you know, on TVs and stuff, and you get like if there's like a program and a child starts crying, we have to turn it over. It sends me mad.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't hack it. I can't hack it. You know, I remember attacking a guy in Tesco's when he walloped his kid. You know, it wasn't nothing to do with me. The kid must have done something wrong, but the dad walloped the girl. I just want to kill him. You know, I just saw red.
Yeah.
I saw a child, and in my head I thought something bad was going to happen to her.
Yeah.
You know, it was nothing to do with me, but I just couldn't help myself. But yeah, at 18 and a half, all the stuff, you know, kind of stopped with the probation. Got told that if I was to breathe a word, that my brother would pay the price, that my nan and granddad, they would take them out. Eric Pierce would, you know, see that nan and Gramps didn't make it. So I was, yeah.
They're constantly threatening you with that, yeah.
All the time, that, you know, asking me how nan and granddad was, and, you know, do you want nan and granddad to die, and you keep your mouth shut about what happened. And it was hard because I lived in fear, because I loved them dearly, you know. And then at 18 and a half, I just got heavily involved in crime, mate. I really, really did get heavily involved in crime. I started off it doing like burglaries. Got a Borstal sentence at 18 for like breaking and entering and stuff. And do you know what? I loved the place. I went to a place called Portland in Weymouth, and it was hard, it was strict, but we never got touched. You know, I love my Borstal. You know, I was so I was so
after everything you've gone through, prison probably feels like
it was so
a
nice,
haven.
because I felt like, especially Mr. Williams. Like, sorry to say it, he had a nickname.
Who's that? Sorry, Mr. Williams?
He was just teacher, prison officer in Portland. He had a nickname. They used to call him. He's known as Packy Williams because he was dark skinned.
Yeah.
And he's not. But and I'm not racist, so just letting.
No, that's just at the time as well.
But he was the hardest screw, and we used to do a thing on a Sunday called a milling. So you know what milling in Borstal? You get in the ringlet, and if you won like 3 or 4 fights, you used to get a packet of polos.
Really?
Yeah. He used to give me if I was good, look, he used to give me a packet.
We had to fight him?
No, the lads in different wings.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean.
Ardie, Granville, Drake, Nelson, Benbow, and Eel, which was the block. It was a young offenders institute from lads 16 to 21, but it was Borstal, and it was really disciplined. You had march everywhere. You done gyms 7 days a week. Everything was done by marching, and your cells were spotless. And I was, you know, because he was so hard, like as an officer, and now and again he would come in my cell and talk, like, and I'd stand at attention, and he'd say like, relax, and he'd chuck on the bed like some polos, and he'd ask me
Oh,
about...
because you went in and had a few...
and he'd say, like, you're going to do well Sunday at 9, and I'd say, like, yes, sir. And he'd go, like, all right, stand down. And he asked me about my life, and I told him. And, like, you know, it was hard, because he got, like, you know, I got choked, and, you know, he was just a nice bloke. And you kind
It's
of
the first guy that actually heard you and, you know...
Yeah, and he told me that I was safe.
Safe,
Like, yeah. No, I wasn't going to get hurt, and wasn't going to bad stuff wasn't going to happen. And I liked him.
Yeah.
I was happy there. Kind of didn't want to leave.
That must have been difficult for you to trust, because you've had every single person that's entered into your life abuse you. Suddenly there's this guy and he goes, I'm not going to hurt you.
Yeah, because he kept his clothes on and he kept his hands to himself.
Yeah.
You know, he gave us a few slaps, but when you got to know him and he got to know you and he got to know a bit about your life, and he saw like scars on your body of what you went through and stuff, and he understood.
Yeah.
And he would talk and ask me about stuff, and he used to do what he used to do. He used to get paper, and in felt he used to put dots, and he would give me a pencil, and I'd like he taught me to write my name in that lot, and he was saying, like, you know, and taught me to write a letter and things like that, and you know.
Can we give him a bit of a shout out?
Yeah, Mr. Williams, thank you, sir. You was a good man. He was a really good man. Sorry about his nickname, but that's what we all called him. But he was a really nice man.
Yeah.
And I had respect for him, because he got me a job in Portland in the quarry. It was an outside football pitch.
Right.
And because it was Portland is in a place called Dorset, it's on the hill, and it's in a village called Easton. Cool, I had a cracking suntan. Jeez, I used to cut the grass on the quarry, look. And now and again, he did it once. He, I'll never forget it. It was, he dropped off a can of Heineken and put it in the bin and kind of said, like, there was a gift in the bin. Yeah, in the summer. And the ring come off. Remember the ones it come off? They never stayed on? Yeah. And he was sound like, you know, and because I always did well on milling, look. I'd do the boxing on a Sunday, do like 3 or 4 bouts and stay in the ring, because you got like your polos. So if you stayed in, you got a packet of polos running.
Stayed in as in you beat the other guy?
Yeah.
And then what? And another one comes in?
Or what he would do, look, is if they had someone on a different house who was a bully, they used to put your names in a hat, and he'd say, like, do you want to fight Lighthouse on a Sunday? I was like, yes, sir. He said, right, you know, you've got to do the first one, then in the second one, his name would be in the hat. And it was like, they pull it out and they go, Lighthouse, Benbow, next, get in there. And Mr. Williams, like little Patrick Williams, giving me a little wink and go, you put the gun shard back in, put the gloves on, and go for it. Yeah.
Any referees or just absolute?
Yeah,
so it was actually properly done then? It wasn't just like a bare knuckle thing, it was the proper gloves and everything,
Yeah, you put a mouth guard in.
Yeah.
And we used to call the gym screw Action Man, because he was short, and it was called Action Man. Yeah.
That's the one with the eyes.
Yeah, but he was short, but he was really fit.
Right.
And like, he'd like, go on, get into him, like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So everyone supported you from that wing. So like you had like the wing support each other and.
Yeah, because obviously we got, if you won on a Sunday, like if your house won, you get like extra portions for tea as well.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah.
So like on Sunday nights, you'd always get a salad with mashed potato. So you can get like less salad, more mash, and a bit of extra ham. So like, he used to make sandwiches out of everything. So you do well, like, to beat all the other houses to stay in and get the polos as well. And he would, like, and now and again he'd open my cell, put the lock on, and he'd stand by the door chatting to me about life. And I think, you know, it's like I said to him, like, you know, he said to be leaving soon. And I was like, I asked him if I could stay. And he's like, no, you got to, you know. I
was going to say, when you talk about you, there's almost this kind of real nice warmth about it.
Yeah, because it was Borstal, got sent by the courts, look, I got 27 months. And it felt like home. Because I had a clean cell, clean bedding, always kept my uniform good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now and again, my nanograms come to visit me. And I would send them VOs. And I got in really good shape. And I had someone believe in me. You know, someone actually believed in me. And it didn't last long, because when I come out, I got involved with crime again. And then I got involved with like armed robberies, and I got involved with two really, really good, like, they're both brown bread now, dead from Bristol, Dennis and Fianzo. And that's when I say about the judge. So on the 1st of May 1992, we got found guilty, and we had the first judge was Sir Ian Lewis. He was a nonce. I remember him from Freeways, but he wasn't too bad. Then on the second, so he went sick. So it was on a Friday the 1st of May, 1992. Our judge went sick. We was up for sentencing because we got found guilty. And we got told in the court cells in the morning that we got a replacement judge, that Sir Ian Lewis has gone sick. This is Crown Court, the old Brightbowl Crown Court in Bristol, opposite the old juvenile court. And Court 12. And we went, me, Fianzo and Dennis went in the dock. We had come up the back stairs, you had a brass rail, and I kind of looked. And I looked at Dennis, and I looked at Fianzo, and I gripped the rail. And they were like Dennis was like, bruv, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I kept shaking. And as I looked, it was a judge called Judge Fanner that had raped me in Freeways. Yeah, and he couldn't even look at me. Do you know, as he kept talking and going through the sentencing, he would put his head down and he would look up, and and literally, I remember Fianza saying, bruv, what's wrong? Like, bro, not bruv, bro. He said, bro, what's wrong? I was like, nothing. And I just kept looking at him, and I was just, then I had the QC I had at the time, his name was Dorian Day. He came from London. And he just kind of kept looking up and going like, and I got 32 years. Fianzo got 21. Dennis got 16. Yeah.
How long? So say that again. You got
32 years.
32 years.
32 years, 3 and 2. Fianzo got 21 years.
Right.
And Dennis got 16 years. So today is Sunday, the 14th of May. Okay? This is why when I said to you on the phone...
Yes, that's right, you did.
You said about the 14th, I said, yeah, it's kind of like... It's a special... In a way, a special day for me. Because we basically struck a deal in court. We should have got 6 years, 8 months. But because the judge had raped me, he gave me a big sentence to get rid of me. That's all it was done for. We had already got told we should have got 6 years, 8 months each, not 32, 21, 16. So he did it to silence me. So as quick as we got put down, you appealed, didn't you? Because it's wrongful sentence.
Yeah.
It took 2 weeks to get an appeal, to get what we should have got, 6 years, 8 months. But when we went back to court on Friday the 15th to the Royal Courts of Appeal in London, it was just me and Fianzo in the dock. And we kind of said, like, where's Dennis? And they said that last night, which would have been tonight, the 14th, Dennis commits suicide. A day before getting his sentence reduced.
Yeah.
He never commits suicide. He was taken out.
Yeah?
That was a threat to me, to keep your mouth shut.
Wow.
That was a threat.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
Why would any man commit suicide?
When he knows it's going to be reduced to 6...
You should be happy, shouldn't you? You should be skipping. You should be dancing for joy, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
No, he didn't. He committed suicide. So, you know, that
was a warning shot.
Yeah.
To basically say, look, you better keep quiet.
And then, you know, I got my sentence. I did a couple of years out of that. I got out. I was kind of, you know, I got into trouble again. And then I went back to prison. And, you know, I just couldn't. Then I come out and I had a daughter. And my daughter is now, you know, at a good young age.
Did you do 6 years then?
No, I did 7, 8, because I had some more time. Then I kept coming out and getting different sentences. So I'd done about 15 years in total behind the door. I just kept coming out, getting a sentence, getting a 5, getting an 18-month, getting a 3, you know. So I actually done, with the approved school, I done the best part of nearly 21 years with the approved school behind the door. So if you take the approved school plus prison time, I did the best part of nearly 21 years, you know, behind the door. So, but then, you know, I tried to make a go of life as I come out. I met someone, I had a daughter. It didn't work. But, you know, still become a dad to my daughter. give my daughter a good life. You know, she's now 28. She's doing well for herself. Got a grandson. You know, and but then it didn't stop there, did it?
Oh.
Because yeah, no, that's yeah. So I got married in 2013, and got married to someone I shouldn't have got married to. It's as simple as that. Didn't love her. She didn't love me. Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have done it. But at the same time, I don't know if you can see on the back of my head, I've got a big scar.
Yeah.
I had a brain tumour removed in 2012.
Gosh.
Yeah, that was from all the, like, basically, I had blunt force trauma on the back of my head. So my mum used to, like, slap me as a kid. She put a tumour on the back of my head. So it basically grew in 2012 and I had to have it cut out. Yeah, so I had that, and I had, she gave me a brain tumour. It was like, they call it lying dormant. Basically laid low. It was caused through blunt force, like trauma. And then I had 4 strokes straight afterwards. So I learned to walk, write and read again. Well, I can't really read and write now, I ain't that great. But I had to learn to do everything again. Because having a stroke, it just basically, fucked me right up. And yeah, so I had that. I'd met someone, didn't really want to be with, but felt like, I don't know. None of it felt right. I shouldn't have done it. And got married in 2013. And I don't drink. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't do recreational drugs. I live a clean life. All I got is me vape. And, I'm not a drinker. I had been in the past, and I stopped many, many years ago. And, I don't do... I live a clean, quiet life. I keep myself to myself, and I keep my head down. I don't get involved with jack shit. Just the way I like it. And my ex-wife was just horrible person. We went to a place one night. We went to out with some people to a little place in Newport in Wales. It was called the church, because we used to go now and again to a church, like a spiritualist church. So we went. So we're going to go to this church in Newport called the church, and kind of got to this place, bit seedy, kind of wet in, and I was like, this is spiritualist. It's a bit like a swingers place, and I wanted to go. She's like, no, it's all right, it's all right, and I got given a drink, and I wasn't a massive drinker then, so I kind of started drinking this drink, and do you know when you're starting to feel like floaty, and you're feeling a bit like,
Yeah.
like, that was strong sort of thing. Like, what? Then all of a sudden, I didn't know anything. Then I kind of blanked out and come round at home. Like, literally, I'd been spiked. There was something in the drink that I'd been spiked. And I'd come home and I was curled up on the sofa, which is like early hours of Sunday morning, going into Sunday. And kind of woke up Sunday morning and felt rough, felt weird, kind of felt spaced out. It felt as if, I'd taken something really, really bad. And remember, kind of, I was in a ball and as I went to kind of stretch my legs, I felt like, like, I can out like my bum.
Oh no.
So I kind of went down and felt, so it felt like I was bleeding.
Yeah.
And I was.
Oh,
but
God,
as
not
I
again.
felt it, there was like semen coming from my backside. My wife had got up, and she'd basically come downstairs, and I was like, what happened? Like, what was going on? And she was like, I got drunk, and I was, I passed out. And I was like, that place, what was that place? And she's like, no, you've got it all wrong. And I was like, why am I bleeding? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, she basically told me that it was in my head. She made me believe that everything was in my head. She made me believe that, I got drunk and they had to bring me home and that I'd ruined the night and that I'd caused everything. And I was thinking, what have I done? What have I done? And then the next day, she went to work and I couldn't go to work because I was still in pain with my back. And I went to my doctor's up at Emerson's Green in Bristol, and I'd never forget it. I saw a doctor called Dr. Jelfs, and he had just come back from skiing, and he said he had a bad back, and I explained how I felt, and he asked me to, he called someone in, and he asked me to get undressed and to do an examination, and he said that my backside had been messed with, and there was semen in my backside, and that somebody had been there, and then I tried explaining to him what went wrong, and obviously he rang my ex-wife, and she came in from work and said, what are you doing? What are you turning in for? You asked for that. And I was like, no, I never.
So what was that place like, and why was she taking you there?
A swingers club.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was a swingers
and so
club.
she was into that, and then...
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it never happened with me. But obviously, because she tried, she took me to Cyprus on holiday. And she wanted do some, I can't really go into a lot of detail. She wanted to do some business with somebody for her business. And in order to get that business, the guy liked me. And I'm not into that. I'm not gay. That's not me. I'm with a female now. And she said to me, if I was to sleep with him, it would help her get business. And I said, but I'm not into that. She said, but you've been raped. You've let everybody else do it. Why don't you want me?
Oh,
and
gosh, she's using that as an excuse.
That's not me.
Yeah.
But anyway, cut a long story short, a couple of months go by. She took me on holiday to Cyprus. It was all weird. We went to this villa she hired.
Yeah.
And the guy was in there. The guy she wanted me to sleep with. The guy we'd met in Bristol. So she wanted to do a business deal with a guy.
He was in Cyprus?
The guy she wanted to do a business, he was from Bristol. I was going to help her with her business to do an advertising deal on television.
Okay.
But in order to get that, he liked me. Okay, because she showed him photographs of our wedding stuff, and he made a joke by all accounts. Her attitude was, if you can help me in business, she said, I'll buy you a car, and I was like, it don't work that way. She said, but you've been raped. Your dad's done it. So-and-so's done it. So-and-so's done it. They done that for nothing. And yet you're not prepared to help me. Because she really put it on me as if, it's the done deal. And I was like, no, I was never, happy. And, even with the wedding, there was people at the wedding I didn't want going. Like my mum and dad come to the wedding. She invited them. I didn't want them there, but she did. It was like a joke. Yeah. And, my mum would tell her stuff, he'd been through all these men, they've all raped him, blah, 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 blah. To the point that I went through a stage when I was married of, I ended up in hospital. I went delusional. Because after the operation and stuff, I was on really, really strong tablets. Then all of a sudden, these tablets were switched. Okay? And they were replaced with, from what I was later on to believe, aspirin. Not the tablets I should have been taking. So I lost me for a week. I went into this delusional state that I didn't know who I was, where I was, what was going on. And at the time I was smoking cigarettes. And I was a heavy smoker back then. And I didn't eat, drink or smoke for 4 days. In fact, I didn't make sense. I had to be given an injection to knock me out. I was put into French hospital. I was about to get sectioned because my ex-wife had messed with my tablets in order that I'd do something to myself. And I remember that happened over a weekend. And that happened in 2014. And over the weekend, I was dropping in me. I couldn't eat. I knew something wasn't right. She sent me upstairs once to get, in that weekend, to get a bottle of bleach. Bear in mind, she had it behind her back, and I could see it. But it felt like it just felt like I couldn't reach it. That everything felt weird. That I couldn't reach it. That it was all sliding from me, and I just couldn't help. I just kept thinking like, what's going on? I wasn't feeling like me, and she kept saying, "It's upstairs. Go and get it." And I'd be going up and down, and to the point, I remember going in the spare bedroom, sitting down and curling up in the ball and hiding. I was becoming delusional because of my tablets got messed with, and I got told that basically when it all went tits up, and we got divorced in the end, and I remember my mum going really, really mad because basically they had me insured, and if I was to pop off, my mum and dad and my ex-wife were going to benefit. My mum and dad were going to go to Barbados on the money they got because my ex-wife was going to give them like 20 grand. And me mum, I remember my mum saying, like, getting really angry with me and saying, "You even fucked that up." And I couldn't believe it. I said, "You knew what was going on. You knew everything. You knew what she was doing to me." She said, "Well, what have you got to live for? Could have stayed, you're better off dead."
Gee.
Yeah, or my mum then again would say to me, like, "If I give you 50 quid, would you take these tablets?" And it was, it was a strong antidepressant. Oh, God, Valium. She offered me 60 Valium tablets because I spent a bit of time. I spent about on and off about 7 years being homeless because I had a bad breakup in the marriage. Lost out. I was married to a millionaire. Big business in Bristol. She had a window business. That's all I'll say. Really big. And we had a bad breakup in the marriage. Didn't love her. It was just fucking horrible. I became homeless. Okay, and the silliest thing I'd done with becoming homeless was I rang my mum for help on Christmas Eve. Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have fucking done it. I rang her up and she said, "I'll call you back," because I had a shitty little mobile phone, which the police give me, and she rang me back in March. Yeah, and and I rang her on Christmas Eve, and I just wanted like a shower, a shave, and a bit of toast, and she was like, "Yeah, it was fucking hell, John." And I'm sorry for the language.
No, please.
If I'm sat and I'm being real now, I'm being me, I'm being honest. I'm talking about my life, and it makes me angry. It makes me angry what I had to suffer. It makes me angry how people turned a blind eye. It makes me angry how I was worth more dead than alive. You know what I mean? And all I ever done was tried. That's all I ever done.
And tell the truth.
But you can't tell the truth, can you?
No.
You're not allowed to tell the
Not
truth.
allowed to.
Didn't anybody tell you that? People like me, we put innocent men in prison. It's where they should fucking be. Regardless of who you are and what power you got. You deserve to be in prison for what you done.
Yeah.
I'm in prison. It's called this prison. I live it every day. That's what I live every day. Could have stayed to me. I'm 54. But who gives a toss? I got to live with that pain. I got to live with so much more. Again, in order to get to the bottom of my life, I want 53 years to go through it again. It's not as, I'd love to sit down with you about a million times after this because there's so much, it's so deep. How do you go through, really, you can only do one podcast for 3 hours, like a week in someone's life. You're talking the best part of 53 years. I'm trying to skim over and give you the best bits. There's so much more. All what I've told you then, I could do that on an easy day. You know what I mean? It's my life. It just makes me angry.
Yeah. Of course.
I've got no tears because I've cried so much. I've cried. I've lost people. I've lost some good friends because of what men have done to us. You know what I mean? It kills me, mate. It kills me that the people that done it are still living and breathing. It just makes me angry that no one listens.
And no one listens, and they get protected, and
they all get protected. We're the ones that are deemed, like Keir Starmer said, they're damaged just because they've been in a year pro school and they took drugs. You know, well, you put the fucking drugs in us.
Yeah.
You injected the shit in us for your for your whatever you want to call it, your excitement. What choice did we have? All I done was told the truth. That's all I done. I stood in front of a court of law, looked at that mock fucking shit on the wall, the coat of arms. You know, I swear by God, the any evidence I shall give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God, what a load of bollocks that line is.
Yeah.
What it means is, keep your fucking mouth shut, because paedophiles got more rights than you, regardless of who they are, or what they are in life. I couldn't give a fuck of who you are. You know, I'm sorry for the language.
No, do it. Let it out, man.
It's my life.
Yeah,
It's my life.
Yeah.
I've got to live through this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not in great health. Admittedly, I got leaking heart valves. You know, and again, so I had all that in 2014. You know, don't tell the doctor. She dumbed it down with the doctor. She basically told the doctor that I consented. Did I fuck? You know? Then when the fucking divorce, I'll tell you what happened with the fucking divorce. You know, they all lied. They all fucking lied. Her daughter, her ex-bloke, her business partners, you all lied. And you fucking know you did. Because of their lies, I spent 6 weeks on remand. Because they lied at the back of their
What did they say?
That I tried to kill them all.
Oh.
Yeah. 9, it was brilliant. I got charged with 9, what do they call it? There's 9, hang on, threats to kill. There weren't fucking 9 people there. You know what I mean? All I done was over the phone, I told her daughter the truth. I didn't love you, Mum. I love me cat more than you, Mum. I had a cat called Wilfred. She bought me a cat. She even kept that fucking thing. But he was my best mate. I love animals. And all I done was told her daughter the truth on the phone. I don't love you, Mum. I've never loved you, Mum. Hated your Mum for what she done to me. Told her the truth. And do you know what? The truth hurt. It really, really did. Because they then rang the old bill and said that I tried doing this and that. Load of bollocks. Because I had a past, the police come on really, really heavy. My ex-wife lied and said that she was going to go and live in Cyprus. She's still living in Bristol. Good luck. I don't. I'm out of shithole. I don't live there. And the chances of us ever seeing each other again are fucking 1,000,000,000 to 1. I got, you know, I'm away from that shit. You know, and I went through a bad time with it, John. And I become homeless. I lived on the streets for a bit again. Yeah, I've had about 7
actually on the
years.
streets.
Yeah, I've been down, mate. I've been down. Yeah, just because I got this top on now, I've only bought this off Vinted. You know, 40 quid, worth about 160 quid. Lovely, Ralph Lauren. I feel like an Arab, you know. But no, I spent about 7 years on the streets on and off. I'm not homeless now.
No.
And in some ways, I felt happier on the streets because, you know, I was out in, remember that beast from the east a couple of years ago?
The beast from the east.
The cold weather we had from Russia.
Oh, right, yeah.
Remember that bad stuff?
Yeah.
We was out in that. I was out in that. Yeah, I was out homeless. That's when the police give me the mobile phones. I got beat up.
What, you were beaten up on the streets?
Yeah.
By who?
Ex-wife's ex-husband.
No.
Yeah.
What, he came to find you on the street and...
He knew where I was living, like on the streets. I was living in a place, I was roughing it in Emerson's Green. And somebody, like, I used to beg by shops, but I used to beg, not beg for money, I used to beg to be helped. Okay, so I used to have a little place, not a million miles from where I was living, but I didn't do it for that. I did it because there was a council house there, like as in a government building, and I did it to try and get housing, like help, you know, because, and obviously our old neighbours saw me and kind of seen me in, like, said like, oh, your life would pick up, all the best, and walked off. And obviously people, they talk and said, oh yeah, I used to sleep at the back of Subway because the bloke at night would give me a coffee and some cookies. And obviously they got to where I was sleeping, and I was getting my head down one night, and him and his friend basically, I thought it was blokes in the pub, pulled the boxes off and packing I had around me and just give me a right fucking pasting. And a couple of days later, I was it was late at night and I was walking, and the police like said like, are you still up at Subway? And I said, yeah. And he gave me this little shitty phone and said, just look after yourself. It's gonna get cold, And they said, what happened? I just said, I fell over. Like, I can't be fucked to talk to him. I ain't gonna talk to him. Done me no good. And I just said I fell over. And they just, just asked me to look after myself. And they weren't too bad. They gave me a fiver to get some food. And another copper did as well. She actually stops. And kind of said, like, just keep walking in at night. Don't sleep at night. You can try and sleep somewhere in the daytime because at night's colder, you would die. And there was a couple of us that used to get together and homeless, and that's what we used to do. We used to walk around Bristol at night, like trying to keep warm, going through charity bags to get the good clothes. It's like, warm stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've done that off and on for about 7 years. Lived homeless, not in one go.
Wow.
But bits of my life, and I've lost stuff, and basically get with someone, and it all goes fucking Pete's on, and you end up going out with a black bag. And it's, you wake up in the morning in a house and you end up at night in a cardboard box. You got one or two ways. You either got on with it or you get yourself out of it. And it got me for a bit because obviously I tried hanging myself. Like, yeah, I didn't realise I was being watched by someone. It was a pair of clippers I tried doing it with. What you cut your hair with?
Yeah.
I just had enough.
Right.
Tied it around a tree, put it around my neck, and as I went to drop, the bloke grabbed my legs.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I was angry after that because I wanted to go, look. I just couldn't take it, mate. Just too much going on, like with dealing with my past, being homeless, being kicked, having a kick in, not getting help from the council. Because, I got banned from a place called Kingswood Civic Centre in Bristol because I smelt, because I was trying to get benefits. Like, I couldn't get an address because I couldn't get anything from Universal Credit, but I needed an address. So I'd go to the council, they said, right, go back to Universal Credit. And I'd like the DHSS, and I'd say, like, I can't, because I've got to come here for us to get an address. And they said, you can't come in here because you smell.
So oh, God.
So it was like
sending you around in circles.
Yeah, and I just had enough, and I'd give up. I give up. And then I just thought, fuck this, I've had enough.
Yeah.
My head's full. It's when you're homeless, there's no hope. You know what I mean? You don't wash for weeks on end. I had enough of eating out of bins and, drinking out of fucking puddles and, it just...
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, how are you going to get it? You ain't got a kitchen, have you? How are you going to get it?
Yeah.
You ain't got a kitchen. You ain't.
No one would even give you, like McDonald's couldn't even give you a coffee or something.
No, that's why the guy now and again from Subway would give me a coffee, look.
Yeah.
And he'd listen to my story. He'd listen to my life. I didn't want to bore the bloke too much, like, because didn't want to fuck his head up. But no, it was just you're stuck in a rut and you can't move.
Yeah.
There's no hope. There's no help.
Yeah.
And I had that for a bit. Then I got out of that, and somebody gave me a place to stay. That was a fucking joke. I got some guy reached out. I got onto Facebook on a shitty phone. I used to go by Subway and used the Facebook, try and log in and just put out a plea for help. And a guy from Bristol kind of said, like, reached out to me and said, look, I got a mate who might be able to put you up. And he did. It was the back of a pub in Bristol. And he put me in this granny annex. And wish I'd have stayed homeless. It was shit.
Was it?
Oh, it was a fucking horrible place. The people that I lived with were just fucking assholes, man. They were just fucking assholes. I had 5 years of hell. Fucking 5 years of hell. Interfering, horrible bastards. Living in a pub, living in shit, living in noise. They didn't help, they just made it fucking worse. You know what I mean? They just wanted to push me down. I just felt like I had no go. I had nothing to live for. And that's when, of course, I tried to, like, hang myself again.
Really?
And in 2020. And so I went from 2015 to 2016 being homeless. Then I got in this pub for 4 and a bit years. Then lockdown happened. And I was just one day, I thought, fuck it, I'm going to hang myself. Just couldn't get out of it, you know what I mean? World was in a state, wasn't it? You know, couldn't get help. I was starting to feel ill myself with my stomach. Couldn't even get to a fucking doctor. And I went to fucking hang myself and got found and rang the doctors for help. Like, thought might be able to get a tablet and stuff. And a doctor called Catherine Pitt from Bristol, a place called Wellspring in Redfield in Bristol where I was staying. Told the receptionist over the phone, I'm in a mess, I tried hanging myself, I've had a fucking enough. That I'm more than likely to do it again. And she got me in to see the doctor, like straight away. Said, can you come on down? And the only time in the doctor is I got offered a coffee. And she let me have, this is gospel. Well, I was so stressed and I was smoking at the time, cigarettes. She didn't want to do it, but I went in there for 50 minutes and she let me smoke my head out the window. Because I was all over the place. My head was gone. And she knew about my past because of my medical record, but what I'd been through with reporting rape, with... I'll tell you how bad it got with the rape situation. So in 2013, after I had all that come on with my head, I was in a doctor's called Stoke Gifford Medical Centre. Now, it was a beautiful summer's day. Gorgeous, red hot. I've gone in there in the afternoon, and I'll never forget it. The two sisters, the surname was Gillett, who was in reception, and there was no one in the waiting room. So I've gone in and I've got an appointment with a doctor to see about my head. Like it's aftercare, after the strokes and the operation, like a year after. And I go in and the waiting room was empty. And remember the Gillett sister was working, said, oh, have a seat, you'll be next in. So I sat down and it was weird, it was a big waiting room. Then all of a sudden this big fat bloke comes in with 2 walking sticks, really, really fat. And what was weird was, out of all the spaces he could sit, which is a big waiting room, he sat right opposite me. Okay? And what made me look at him was, I couldn't believe how we come into the waiting room with a T-shirt. And it said, it was so rude and crude, it said, don't drink seawater, because fish fucking it. That's what it said. And you wouldn't wear that into a doctor's surgery. It's rude. As I looked up, he looked at me, grabbed his sticks, come forward, and smiled. It was John Beecham from Freeways.
No!
Yes, I was looking at him in the eyes. Broke it to rape me, the top boy.
That was the top head boy, wasn't it, you mentioned, yeah?
He had literally smiled at me and leant forward.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this incredible interview with Darren. If you'd like to watch the remaining 40 minutes where Darren talks about running into one of the scumbags that raped him at school, plus Darren's time on the streets homeless, his desperate suicide attempts, and then eventually finding his now girlfriend, please consider joining my Patreon. That way you can watch the full-length interview and always watch the full-length interviews each month. Plus you get bonus access to the videos deemed too naughty for YouTube, which were deleted. You get exclusive access to that archive as well each month. You can also view my other tier options depending on how involved you want to be. I'll see you there, guys. Cheers.